Hi, and welcome back to Purple Collar Life. I'm Chad, and in today's video we're talking about gloves. Specifically, my thought that the perfect pair of firewood gloves does not exist. Prove me wrong in the comments throughout this video. I'm going to walk you through all the many types of gloves I've tried to use for firewood. And I'm talking about the entire process. So gloves you wear when you're running the chainsaw. Gloves you wear when you're moving the rounds. Gloves you wear when you're splitting. This time of year, it's about 30 degrees out. I'm working back here in the shed today doing some splitting. And it got me to thinking, I've got a ton of gloves here that aren't the perfect glove for firewood, and I'd like to know if you guys know a better solution or if they're just plain isn't a perfect glove for firewood. If it's your first time watching us here at Purple Collar Life, thank you so much for joining us. If you've been here all along, thanks for coming back. This channel is all about real world situations. We really are a family that lives in the woods here in Northwest Pennsylvania, and I do a lot of work with chainsaws and firewood and log splitters and tractors and equipment, and that's kind of one of the things we're talking about today. I want to show you first a couple of my gloves that I think are close. My favorites in some situations. But let me start out by saying I'm not a glove guy. I prefer to work with my hands without gloves on. I just find it a lot easier to do what I'm doing when I have full capability to feel what I'm working on. But when it gets to be cold out like this, gloves are necessary. And when you're handling a lot of firewood, gloves are necessary. Like I mentioned, I'm typically not much of a glove guy except for when it comes to firewood. I feel like I have better control of my hands when there's not gloves on them. I feel like the gloves get in my way. I feel like the gloves fail pretty quickly, and then sometimes that just gets more frustrating than not having any gloves on at all. But with firewood, you're dealing with splinters and abrasions and rough edges. And looking at the gloves I have here, starting out with my favorite ones for chainsaw work when it's not very cold out. So anytime I grab the chainsaw and I'm wearing a pair of gloves, you've probably seen in the videos I'm wearing these STIHL gloves. These are leather gloves on the hand side. They do have some knuckle protectors here on the back. They are STIHL brand, Velcro. So these aren't a bad glove. These are the most comfortable glove I've found when I'm running the chainsaw because you still have complete feeling in your hand. They're protected with the leather a little bit. You've got this little bit of protection on your knuckles. The problem is anytime it gets below about 50 degrees, your hands still get cold in these because there is no insulation in them. So really good glove for chainsawing. The problem with these gloves for handling firewood is this is actually my third set because I wear through usually the pointer finger and the middle finger. Right here in the fingers, I end up wearing through that leather working with firewood. So great gloves for some applications, but not others. Has anybody found a thin glove like this that actually holds up to rounds and splits? Perfect for springtime and fall and summer use? Let me know. The same thing with these STIHL gloves. I got these because they were a little bit thicker leather and I thought maybe they'd hold up better with the firewood, but they don't, and they actually feel thinner when they're on as far as warmth than these gloves do. So I wouldn't get these ones at all again. These ones I've had 3 sets of because I like them so much for the chainsaw, but they're not great for handling the firewood. Then you've got leather gloves like these. These are complete leather, and these are soft leather. These are really nice gloves. They feel really comfortable. I actually like these. They feel like driving gloves, but they've got, again, no insulation, and the leather is really thin. So I have handled firewood in these. They're not cheap. Any of these that I can find on Amazon, I'll put a link to these or something similar. These are really nice, but they don't hold up for firewood. Great for driving the tractor though. Then you've got your basic work glove like this, 100% cotton. Keeps your hand a little bit warmer, which is nice, but these will only last cutting firewood for a very short amount of time, less than a full session, because your fingers will wear right through the end of these handling the rough edges of firewood really quickly. Gloves like these, I just brought these out to show. These are like snow gloves, like if you're going out sledding or you know, playing in the snow, these are great gloves for that. Horrible gloves for using for firewood. They will not hold up. Then you've got these rubber coated gloves. So I have used these before. I use these all the time in the garage. Great for when you're, you know, working on stuff with the car because it gives you lots of grip. You do lose some of the sensitivity, the feeling in these, so that's one of the things I don't like about them. But these ones, I'll put a link down. I got these on Amazon for sure. They usually come in packs of like 6 sets, and they're okay for firewood. The rubber actually does hold up pretty decent, but they're very cold. Like on a day like today, these are really cold on your hands. These are just some typical outside work gloves, and you can get these at, you know, Tractor Supply or Rural King. And these are okay for like using like a shovel and stuff. They protect your hands pretty good with something like that, but they're no good with firewood, again, because they just aren't heavy duty enough in the fingers to keep from wearing through on rough edges. You know, we deal with a lot of oak, cherry, hickory. This is rough wood on the outside and on the inside, and gloves like these just weren't made for that. Okay, these gloves, Kinko, these are a complete leather glove with some insulation in them. I like a lot of things about these. They're warmer. Now, I couldn't run the chainsaw in these because they're too thick. I need to have more feeling on my trigger finger when I'm running the chainsaw. But for handling, carrying firewood, splitting firewood, these are a really good glove. The problem with them is after they get wet, so you're handling, you know, wet firewood, you've got snow under or whatever, the moisture cuts through the leather, and then these are horrible to have on because wet leather is the worst. You lose all your pliability. And then even after they've dried, these have been wet and dried before, they're very crunchy. Like they're harder to bend the fingers. So that's the problem with these. They have held up. There's no holes in them, so that's one good thing. They are insulated, which is really nice, but they're just not very pliable. Is there an insulated glove out there that doesn't turn into a rock after getting wet? If so, who makes it? Where can I get it? So the last couple years, these have kind of been the closest thing to the perfect firewood glove for me. I can actually run the chainsaw in these, and these are Cowlitz River rigging gloves. These are available from a company in Washington. You can buy them by the single pair. They're like $5 something a pair, or buy them by the dozen. They're like $50 some for a dozen of them. The problem is to ship them here in Pennsylvania is expensive. It's like $18 to $25 to ship a pack of 12 gloves from Washington to Pennsylvania. These are really good gloves for handling firewood for a while. But you can see here, I've worn these so much. I've got a hole in the finger right there, a hole in the thumb right there. But they are comfortable gloves, and they're quite a bit warmer than a traditional glove. Maybe not quite as warm as these full leather gloves, but these are a nice cotton glove, and I like the feel of them. The problem is once they get wet, they are absolutely miserable. So imagine wet cotton on your hand. It's just super cold, extremely cold. So close, but no cigar on these ones. These cotton gloves have been pretty close to being my favorite until they get wet. Anyone have a trick to keep this style from soaking through, or a way to keep the fingers from wearing through? So here we are, lots of gloves, and obviously I've worn other gloves throughout the years that haven't held up either. I just didn't have them out here for examples. So I'd really like to know in the comments down below, what gloves have you tried that's a good all-around firewood glove, especially for the cold like this? You can probably see my breath as we're talking here. It's really cold out, and it's nice to have a good warm pair of gloves when you're doing this cutting and splitting and stacking firewood, handling firewood in the wintertime to get it from my firewood stacks into the basement, all of that. It's nice to have a good pair of gloves that are like winter appropriate, warm gloves, but they hold up to the abuse of handling firewood. I know I'm asking a lot of a glove to be perfect for firewood. It's got to be warm, it's got to have dexterity, it's got to have rugged ability to hold up over time. So that's kind of the trifecta, like the three things I'm looking for. A glove that's warm, that gives me some dexterity, I've got feeling in my fingers still, lets me move around pretty easily, but it also holds up to the conditions of handling firewood. I know it's a tall task. I'm looking for the perfect glove out there, and maybe someone's already found it. Make sure you let me know in the comments. So right here in the bottom row, I need some combination of these three. Great feeling, holds up really well, warm, but it's got to be the combination of all three of those as far as what I'm looking for. So drop your glove recommendations down in the comments. Leave the brand. Let me know what the model is of these gloves so I know what I'm looking for. Also, if you've tried a glove that failed, tell me that too. That'll help me from having to go out and find out for myself that they fail. And if you think I'm wrong about any of these types of gloves, argue with me. I want to learn. If down below in the comments you see someone has already recommended your favorite glove, make sure you give that an upvote, give it a like, reply to that so that we can kind of let those ones rise to the top of the gloves that perform the best based on what you guys have found in your Firewood experience. Now after this video post, I'm going to give it a couple weeks for you guys to leave your comments. And then as we see which the most highest ranking comments are, I'm going to go out and buy the 3 most popular gloves that you guys recommend. And then in a future video, after using those 3 most popular gloves, I'll give you my feedback on what I think about them. I truly am looking for the perfect Firewood glove. I'm tired of trying this and trying that and never find anything that's just quite the right glove for me. And you guys, the people watching this video and leaving those comments, have a big job. Help me find that perfect pair of gloves. For those of you that don't know, I actually don't have electricity back here in the shed, so I wanted to show you a couple things I've done to make it possible to work back here in the dark, because here we are in the wintertime now. It gets dark at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, which drives me crazy, but I still like to work in the evenings. That lets me kind of relax after work, so after the other work. So here's what I've done. I've got some LED shop lights. I'll put Amazon affiliate links. You can see they light up the shed pretty good. There's just 2 of them here, 4-foot shop lights. And then I did run some wiring here, but I'm actually just powering that wiring through this extension cord, which you see I've got running here by the Bluetti Elite 30. This is a 600 watt unit. You can see these lights are taking about 87 watts on the AC side. So in the time I've been working outside tonight, I've used some of it. It's down to 71%. But I could keep this up for another 2 hours running these lights out here in the shed as I worked. So that might be a good idea for you if you've got, a shed or a building that you don't have electricity to. This is a great way to power up that building, get some lights in there. Makes it a lot more comfortable to work in the fall and winter seasons like this, to have some nice lighting. This actually is a pretty good splitting firewood space. I've got windows here in the shed. I've got 2 big huge doors in the front that open up. And it was kind of nice tonight splitting firewood in here because a little bit of protection from the weather if it would start to rain or snow, but nice and wide open, nice airflow coming through here to make it safer to run my log splitter, and then good lighting. Now it's going to be too dark to see me, but you can probably see these lights up on the building. And I've got another one over here. You'll see it come on when I come around the edge here. That is just a magnetic light that sticks on. I'll take a picture of this during the daytime. It's a magnetic light. Because this is a metal building, the magnet sticks to the building. It charges via solar on the top of the light, and then the light comes on. You can set it on how bright to go. These are all on brightness setting number 1, but really nice in the evening here to walk back towards the shed and those lights come on. They're motion sensing, so they come on as soon as there's motion coming around. And then it gives you a little bit of light. I can see the Polaris Ranger there. Before I open the doors, this gives me the light to be able to open these doors. So it's a little bit easier after dark to get into the shed and start my work. And I'll leave Amazon links to the LED lights, the Bluetti, the magnetic lights, which are really awesome. I'm thinking about actually getting another set for over on the big building to put by the man door. So when I'm walking out there at nighttime, that motion turns that light on. A little bit easier to get in and out of the man door or open up the garage doors with some light. Thanks for watching. Again, really counting on you guys to leave those comments down below. Like other people's comments. If they're recommending a glove that you like, reply to those comments. Let's see what floats to the top of the comment section so that I can buy the 3 most popular pairs of gloves that you guys recommend, and maybe 1 or all 3 of those will become my new favorite gloves. If you found this video informative and entertaining, please click the like button. Click that hype button if you can see it. I know some people can, some people can't. I'm not sure how YouTube decides that, but if you can see it, we'd love it if you'd hype our videos. Leave those comments. Share this with somebody else who might also be a glove expert or might also be looking for the perfect pair of Firewood gloves like I am. And then all those things will help me, help this video, help everybody else in the future who's watching this looking for the perfect pair of Firewood gloves. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you again the next time. I'm gonna get some more wood split here, so as the video closes out, you'll get to see the split fire in action, splitting some more cherry firewood that's going into that IBC tote for firewood in future years. It's gonna take that probably a year. Cherry takes about a year to season around here, so probably about this time next year, I'll be ready to test it and see if it's ready to burn in the wood stove. Thanks for watching. See you again the next time. I'm really looking forward to reading down through those comments and finding the perfect firewood glove. Another reason you need some dexterity with your gloves is because you're running this control, you're changing the hydraulics, changing the throttle. You know, these are all things that you need some feeling in your fingers. You can see these leather gloves, well, they're really good for as far as rugged durability handling the wood. These have been wet, so I can't even bend the first knuckle of my index fingers anymore in these. There is no bend up here. I actually take the glove off to start the machine up.